On a recent podcast with Bert Crasher, Joe Rogan claimed that Jada was to be blamed for Will Smith's breakdown at the Oscars last year. He continues to explain when Will Smith initially chuckles at something and Jada appears unhappy. Observing this, Will alters his behavior, walks onto the stage, and playfully strikes Chris Rock in the face. But it wasn't so playful after all. Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith's marriage was a beautiful testament to love, commitment, and mutual respect. The couple has been together for over 2 decades and has built a strong bond that has stood the test of time. They met on the hit show The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air that was set in the mid-1990s. Throughout the years, Will and Jada have been each other's rock, supporting one another through thick and thin. They have also been very public about their marriage. During the 94th Academy Awards, there was an unexpected altercation on stage between actors Will Smith and Chris Rock. While presenting the award for Best Documentary, Chris Rock made a joke about Will Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith. Although Will initially laughed, Jada appeared displeased and rolled her eyes. Shortly after, Will walked onto the stage and slapped Chris in the face. The joke received a lukewarm response and Rock remarked that was a nice one. In 2018, Jada revealed that she has been diagnosed with alopecia, which causes hair loss. Since then, she has used social media to discuss her challenges living with the condition. Jada explains that she cut her hair short after losing it in the shower. She described feeling extremely fearful during that time of her life. Following Will slapping Chris, there was a moment of silence throughout the auditorium. Will then returned to his seat and yelled out, "Don't talk about my wife like that." Although Will was not using a microphone, his words were heard clearly. Chris responded to the incident by saying, "That was the greatest night in the history of television." Joe Rogan expressed disbelief at Will's decision to slap Chris Rock, one of the most acclaimed stand-up comedians ever. According to Joe, Will might not have considered the possibility that Chris could retaliate and use his comedic prowess to expose and ridicule Will's already fragile personal life. In Joe's view, this could be a catastrophic mistake on Will's part, as Chris is known for his razor-sharp wit and ability to craft exceptional comedy. Joe admired that Chris took a year to refine his message before publicly addressing the incident involving Will Smith's slap. Chris's message centered around the notion that the slap was an unprovoked and terrible attack. Rock pointed out that he had been criticized for targeting Smith regarding the infamous Oscar 2022 incident. Joe Rogan insinuated that Will Smith deserved to face the consequences of his actions, stating that Smith had essentially ruined his career by foolishly choosing to slap Chris Rock. Rogan also commented on Smith's immense popularity before the incident, remarking on how widely beloved Smith had been by the public. Rogan expressed his belief that Will Smith's foolishness was responsible for his downfall, as before the incident, nobody had anything negative to say about him. Despite some criticism of specific movies, such as superhero films, Smith had been widely loved by audiences. According to Rogan, the decision to slap Chris Rock on stage was the worst possible move, with the words, "Keep my wife's name out of your mouth," particularly damaging Smith's reputation. These actions ultimately led to Smith's decline. Rogan suggested that if Will Smith had slapped Chris Rock and remained silent, the situation might have fizzled out, and people would have eventually forgotten about it. Rogan's reasoning seems sound because if Will had refrained from talking about the incident backstage or mentioning his wife, he could have avoided being labeled as Jada's puppet and reduced the backlash he faced. Joe Rogan claimed that Will Smith had attempted to spin the incident into a PR opportunity and make it seem like a planned act. However, Rogan believed Will's disrespectful comments and physical altercation with the comedian during the live broadcast had caused the entire problem. The whole situation seemed like something out of a movie, with Will slapping Chris moments after the joke was made. Chris's reaction showed that he did not see the slap coming and may not have been aware of Jada's condition, as she has spoken publicly about her hair loss due to alopecia. Ultimately, both men were just trying to do their jobs, and the incident could have been handled differently without resorting to violence. The Oscars ceremony was filled with confusion and uncertainty as the audience didn't know how to react. Some were uncomfortable and laughed nervously, while others watched in silence. After winning an Oscar for the Best Actor award for his role in King Richard, Will Smith apologized for his actions, admitting that love can make you do crazy things. The following day, he publicly apologized to Chris Rock, acknowledging his behavior was unacceptable and inexcusable. While jokes at his expense were part of the job, a joke about Jada's medical condition was too much to bear, and he reacted emotionally. On Instagram, Smith posted an apology directed at Chris, expressing regret and acknowledging his mistake. Additionally, Smith resigned from the Academy and was prohibited from attending the Oscars for a decade. The punishment was severe for both Smith and the Oscars. Jada Pinkett Smith also discussed the incident on her Facebook show Red Table Talk, where she expressed her hope for reconciliation between the two men. However, it appears that the two men never reconciled, as Chris Rock brought up the incident during a live show in Baltimore that was recorded for his Netflix comedy special. In his latest Netflix comedy special, Selective Outrage, Chris Rock finally spoke publicly about the incident in which Will Smith at the Oscars slapped him. Towards the end of the one-hour special aired on March 4, Rock acknowledged the incident and addressed the audience, saying, "Y'all know what happened to me, getting smacked by Shug Smith. Everyone knows, everybody knows. Yes, it happened. I got smacked at the Oscars like a year ago by this." In his Netflix special, Rock joked about the physical difference between him and Smith, noting that Smith is much bigger than he is and does movies with his shirt off, while Rock is more likely to wear a sweater even during surgery scenes. He also expressed his lack of enthusiasm for Smith's apology tour and his latest movie, Emancipation, saying he only watched it to see Smith get beaten up. Rock's main theory, however, was that Smith had taken out his anger toward Pinkett Smith on him and that Smith's outrage was selective. According to Rock, those who truly knew this situation would know that he had nothing to do with it and was not involved in any entanglements. In this context, Rock is discussing Pinkett Smith's widely known involvement with singer August Alsina, which she called an entanglement in a 2020 episode of her Facebook show Red Table Talk. During the episode, Pinkett Smith and her husband, Will, spoke openly about their marriage. They revealed they were separated during her relationship with Alsina, but have since reconciled. Rock suggested that Smith hit him in his Netflix special because he was upset about his wife Pinkett Smith's affair with August Alsina becoming public knowledge. Rock refrained from mentioning Pinkett Smith's name throughout the special, as if taking Smith's warning to heart. He also ridiculed the idea of the Smiths interviewing each other about the matter, stating that it was absurd. He further argued that Smith was more hurt by his wife's affair being exposed to the public, which led him being called a derogatory name, than by Rock's jokes. Candace Owens expressed her opinion on the incident and critically remarked about Jada Pinkett Smith. Owens alleged that Jada significantly impacted her husband's actions at the award ceremony. Later, she brought up Jada's previous involvement with rapper August Alsina and accused her of causing emotional damage to her husband. Candace Owens believes that instead of facing legal charges or public condemnation, Will Smith deserves empathy for his recent actions. According to Owens, Will Smith should be pitied by anyone who understands how our society is deteriorating due to the corruption of Hollywood celebrities. She also labeled Will Smith as a casualty in the ongoing battle against traditional masculinity and referred to him as a victim. Candace Owens suggested that psychologist Jordan Peterson would caution against emphasizing the plot of Demi Moore's G.I. Jane film as a story about a woman breaking into a male-dominated environment. Owens claimed that the movie was inspired by a real-life account of a woman losing her femininity to adapt to the rigorous physical demands of a more masculine setting. She then remarked that Jada Pinkett Smith would have been ideal for the role, not because of her appearance, but due to her alleged success in emasculating her husband.